Okay, today we're going to show you how to fix the issues with Rainbow Six Siege randomly dropping GPU core clock, which can also cause you to lose like 20 to 40 frames at random while you're playing. So, first you are going to need MS Afterburner located here. Go all the way down to the bottom, download it, install it. Then you open MS Afterburner, right here in this case. And you can copy the settings I use right here, max out the power limit and temp limit, and apply it. It's just a general rule of thumb of that way you don't have temperature limitation of temp throttling issues or power limit issues, possibly, when you're playing. And it's not really going to hurt your card at all. Like, I run mine daily like this for 2 years. Nothing's happened to it at all. So, in my case, my card runs at 1594 on the core stock and 3082 on the mem stock. So, when you're playing, you could have your card. It could be a 2070, you could be a 2080, it could be a 1070, 1060, whatever. It could have it where the core clock will dip below the max boost. So hit Control F on your keyboard while you're tabbed in MS Afterburner, and then this menu pops up. Right now, my card is in this state right here at 800 millivolt, and it's not going to move from there because it doesn't see a higher P state of where it'll want to use more voltage and more power. So, in this case right here, you click on this, then you hit Control F to make sure it will lock there. And then you move this up ever so slightly. So like me, I know my card will do like 2050 on the core, or 2060 in this case. So I'll apply that. Then it moves it up in the curve. So when I put load under it, so say when I launch Siege in this case, so I'll choose display capture for this, although it's not the most ideal. But so say I launch Siege, right? All this is open. Let me move this over out of the way. Let the game launch. Actually, no, I'll just keep this over here for the moment. Now I'm waiting for the game to launch because the game's good. Yeah, so you tab over. Into the game. Once it's loaded, I'll show you. Come on, load, you stupid game. There we go. Okay, so once there's load put under the card, you see that jumped from like the 1594 to 2050, like it should. So once there's load put under it, it'll change. So I go here, then I go Lone Wolf into a Tiant. And I notice like it dropped a little bit because of thermals. But it's not going to deviate much from like 1990 to like 2 gigs on the core. So now it is locked at the frequency, and it is going to stay above the boost clock. So in my case, if I set it at 2050, it's going to jump down a little bit because of thermals. So, like, it literally will stay at that clock while I'm playing. So there's no issues while I'm playing. Like, see, no frame drops, nothing. Mind you, I'm using display capture, so it's going to look weird to your end, while my end it plays a tad bit weird. Because I'm using display capture, it adds input lag unnecessarily. So, yeah. It literally plays perfectly fine. And logs your GPU core frequency at that number you set when you increased it in the curve. So, now I quit the game, and now let me turn that off. So let me go back to a regular set 0-0 with a fan curve, right? So I do that, go launch the game, again, just to not reintroduce any variables other than just obviously launching the game and changing that. So now you wait for it to launch, this game's good. Mind you, this is going to be kind of long, but not really. Yeah, it's not bad. It's only 5 minutes, which isn't bad. Very short so far. Just showing this like very briefly. So once you notice, it's back at 1594. The stupid you play overlay the other way. It's back at 1595, and then once it sees the voltage load spike, it jumps up to 1974, 1953, around the typical boost clock of what it would be. So then I go back, and then go and you see there was a big jump and dip in menu frames, but menu frames don't really matter. So not to introduce any variables, same map, APC, using hash.
Eliminate the terrorists.
So you can see it's significantly lower, and also in the fact of, normally if you have worse issues than I do, then you would see it dip while you are playing due to thermals if you do not have a fan curve on. Me, in this case, I have a fan curve on, so it's not going to dip any really at all. So turn to menu. Alright, so let me tab back out. Okay, so tabbing out. Okay, head over here. So now you notice it dropped back like it should. So now let's say I'm not running a fan curve, right? Just running auto on my graphics card, whatever it is set, determined by the OEM manufacturer, whether it be EVGA, MSI, Gigabyte, Asus, whoever. So now note that I'm doing this. And I'm playing. So notice it's not going to be, over time, the clock is going to drop because of thermal throttling. So the hotter the card is, the lower the frequency gets over time, as the card gets heat soaked.
Eliminate the terrorists.
So in my case, you see it's at 1936, and if I just let it sit there, it's going to get hotter. And then hotter and hotter, and then keep on dropping core clock. To compensate for the fact of I do not have a fan curve on right now. So it's going to do that to compensate for it. So you see my temperature is up at like 60 C, opposed to when before it was a lot cooler by comparison. And now you can see it's going 61 C, 62. So we can go outside, stare up there. You can see it dropped like 1 C. Well, this is what happens when you try and do this while recording. Video to show the issues of this shit. There, you see like how the temperature is getting up to 63 C. Your card will get hotter, and then the clock will obviously drop because of that. Obviously, I can't demonstrate that actually happening because my card doesn't get hot very quickly. I have to let it sit there for like 10 to 15 minutes or more, possibly, just depends. And let it heat soak. So in this case, you can see a lot of things change with that. So that is how you fix Siege's random inherent issues with core clock dropping. And I will link to anything else that would be useful, say like how to overclock an MS Afterburner, which also I can show you. It's not very hard. As a matter of fact, I probably will. So in MS Afterburner, you have two sliders, core clock and memory clock. Right here. Here and here. me go ahead and turn my finger back on. So you have 2 sliders right here. Most cards do about plus 100 on the core. Just depends upon what the base frequency is. So I'd start at 25, then go up in 25 increments and 5 increments. Once you get closer to 100, until the card starts to crash. When it crashes, then I'd back it off to what is previously known to not crash. Use that, then dial in memory the same way. But also, one thing I do before that is set a fan curve. Go in here to the settings tab right there. Go to fan, enable user defined fan control. Set custom predefined. And then set that to 100 milliseconds polling, force fan speed update, and make a fan curve. So in this case, you see how mine is, right? Where I can click and manipulate these right here. Yours will be a little bit different, to where it will be a few less lines. So keep on clicking the lines so you have a good bit of dots on it. Then arrange them to where it's linearly stepping higher. So a good rule of thumb is 30C, 50% fan speed, 40C, 60%, and so on and so forth, and then 10% increments up to like 60 or 70C. Just depends upon if you want an aggressive fan curve or a non-aggressive fan curve. Me personally, I run mine a tad bit aggressive more than I should, but it's not really that big of a deal, because you're not necessarily going to be running this curve all the time. Because say when you're not gaming, you'll want to run it just like idle or auto or whatever it is your card has by default. Hence the use of multiple profiles in my case. So once you set up the VF curve lock, you'll want to right click this profile. Like it can be any one of these, 1 through 5. So you'll want to right click it, and save it. So now when I go to 3, there's nothing here because I didn't obviously change anything, but so I wanted the VF lock, so Control F, which the menu pops up over here for some reason. Okay. So I'm going to Control F, pop this up, go all the way out to the 1.062 volt thing, which is, nope, not there, right here. You set the offset you want on that. So in my case, I want to go to 2060. You apply it. Then you save it to that profile right there by right-clicking in the number. If it's blank, it's going to be grayed out first place. And then once you open MS Afterburner, every time you either start your system or have this set on MS Afterburner where it has the apply at Windows Startup, to where it'll apply a profile when you start up, to where it'll use the last settings you got applied, where it starts up every time you log in your computer. And then you can click this just to make sure it's loaded, just for peace of mind, and then you can go play your games and have fun. So that is a short guide of how to do this. It's not very hard. A lot of people don't know how to do it. It's very simple. It just takes time of wanting to learn.